A sprinter wore gold shoes and shattered a world record. A priest tackled the leader's steps from the finish line. Number 1 will stay with you. These are the 10 wildest moments in track and field, ranked from 10 to 1. Number 10. Atlanta, 1996. Sprinter Michael Johnson had already won gold in the 400 meters 3 days earlier, running an Olympic record time in front of his home crowd. Now he stood at the line for the 200 meters, chasing something no man had ever done before in Olympic history, winning both races at the very same games. He was doing it in a pair of custom running shoes made entirely of gold-colored material, so bright they looked like they belonged in a trophy case, not on a track. Fans started calling him the man with the golden shoes before he had even run a single step. The gun fired, and Johnson exploded out of the blocks, tore through the turn ahead of 2 of the most dangerous sprinters alive, hit the straightaway, and pulled away completely. The clock stopped at 19.32 seconds, smashing the existing world record by 0.3 of a second, the biggest single jump that record had ever seen in one race. The crowd of 83,000 roared so loud that Johnson felt it in his chest before he even saw the time flash on the board. He grabbed an American flag and took his victory lap still wearing those gold shoes. Johnson said he refused to stand on the podium in gold shoes and take home silver. His record stood for 12 years, until Usain Bolt finally broke it. To this day, Michael Johnson remains the only man in Olympic history to win both the 200 and 400 meters at the same games. Coming in at number 9 is a moment about something more powerful than winning. Number 9. Barcelona, 1992 men's 400-meter semifinal. British sprinter Derek Redmond had already survived 5 separate surgeries just to reach this starting line, chasing the medal that had slipped away 4 years earlier when a torn Achilles forced him out. He had posted the fastest qualifying time and looked ready for the race of his life. About halfway through, right on the back straightaway, disaster struck. His hamstring tore completely, and he dropped to the track in pain, watching helplessly as the fields sprinted away without him. Medical staff rushed out onto the track, ready to carry him off. Redmond refused to let them touch him. He pulled himself back up and began hopping forward on one leg toward the finish line, determined to finish no matter what. That is when a man came sprinting out of the stands, pushing past security guards. It was his father, Jim, dressed in ordinary clothes. He reached his son, wrapped an arm around him, and told him quietly that he did not have to keep going. Redmond kept going anyway, and his father stayed right beside him for the rest of the lap, taking on much of his son's weight. Together, father and son crossed the finish line as a crowd of 65,000 fans rose to their feet in a standing ovation. Redmond did not win a medal that day, and officially did not finish under his own power, but that single lap became one of the most replayed moments in Olympic history. At number 8, 2 rivals turned a competition into something the record books had never seen before. Number 8. Tokyo 2 2021 men's high jump final. Mutaz Barshim of Qatar and Gianmarco Tamberi of Italy had been close friends for over a decade, ever since they first met as teenagers. Both men had also survived serious ankle injuries that nearly ended their careers, leaning on each other through years of painful recovery, calling and texting throughout their comebacks. Both cleared every single height perfectly on their first attempt, matching each other jump for normally this means a jump off, one final head-to-head battle where the bar keeps rising until somebody wins. Before the official could finish explaining the rules, Barshim asked a simple question. Could they just share the gold instead? The official checked the rulebook, confirmed it was actually allowed, and nodded yes. The 2 men screamed and embraced, both in tears, Tamberi leaping straight into Barshim's arms in pure celebration. There was no silver medal handed out in that event at all that year, because 2 friends decided their bond mattered more than beating each other. Number 7 belongs to the fastest man who ever slowed down on purpose, right in the middle of the biggest race of his career. Number 7. Beijing 2008 men's 100 meters. Usain Bolt had already broken the world record earlier that year, so expectations were sky high. With 20 meters still to go, Bolt glanced to his side, realized nobody was even close, and started slowing down in the middle of an Olympic final. He spread his arms out wide, thumped his chest, and celebrated before he had even crossed the line. One shoelace completely untied the entire time. Despite easing off at full speed in the final stretch, he still crossed in a brand new world record time. Experts later studied the race frame by frame and estimated that running at full effort could have shaved several tenths of a second off, an enormous gap in sprinting terms. Bolt later said it was just pure joy after years of pressure and missing the final at his first Olympics entirely. A year later in Berlin, he ran the full distance without easing up once and dropped the record even lower, a time that still stands. But the Beijing race remains the only time in history someone broke a world record while basically taking a victory lap during the actual race. Number 6 is a jump so far ahead of its time that the equipment used to measure it could not even keep up. Number 6. Mexico City, 1968, men's long jump. American Bob Beamon had barely qualified for the final at all, fouling on his first 2 attempts and needing a teammate's advice just to make his 3rd jump count. On his very first jump of the final, everything clicked. He sprinted down the runway, launched into the air, and landed so far out that the electronic measuring device could not even read the distance, sliding right off its own rail. Officials had to grab an old-fashioned tape measure by hand, and it took them nearly 20 minutes to confirm the number while a confused Beamon waited, unaware of what he had just done. Beamon had beaten the world record by nearly 2 feet, the biggest single jump in the event's history by a wide margin. When his teammate finally explained just how far he had gone, Beamon's legs gave out from shock and he dropped to his knees, covering his face with his hands. That single jump created a brand new word in sports. To this day, when something seems too far ahead of the competition to be real, people still call it Beamonesque. His world record stood untouched for 23 years, until an American finally beat it in 1991. Halfway through this list, number 5 is a single moment that split public opinion for over 3 decades and still gets argued about today. Number 5. Los Angeles, 1984. Women's 3,000 American superstar Mary Decker and 18-year-old barefoot runner Zola Budd, who had switched to British citizenship just to compete since South Africa was banned, had been built up as the biggest rivalry of the games. With more than 3 laps left, Budd moved into the lead, cutting slightly into the inside lane right in front of Decker. Decker's right foot caught Budd's left leg. Decker stumbled, reached out to steady herself, and tore the race number right off the back of Budd's shirt as she fell hard onto the infield grass. She could not get back up. Her Olympic dream ended in a single second while she lay on the ground sobbing, watching the rest of the field run on without her. Zola Budd kept running, bleeding from her ankle, but faded badly to finish 7th. Officials disqualified her on the spot, then reversed the decision after reviewing video from 6 different camera angles. None of that stopped the crowd of 90,000 fans from booing her every single lap. It took the 2 women more than 30 years to finally sit down together and agree it had simply been a terrible accident. Neither one ever won a medal in that race. Number 4 is proof that a gold medal can be stolen in broad daylight without anyone breaking a single rule of the race itself. Number 4. Athens, 2004. Brazilian runner Vanderlei de Lima was leading the marathon with less than 5 miles to go, on pace to become the first Brazilian ever to win Olympic marathon gold. He had built a lead of about 30 seconds. Then a man in an orange kilt and green beret burst out of the crowd. His name was Cornelius Horan, a former Irish priest who had already caused chaos once before by running onto a Formula One racetrack the year before. Cornelius Horan grabbed Vanderlei de Lima by the shoulders and shoved him off the road into the crowd. A quick-thinking fan pulled Cornelius Horan off, freeing Vanderlei de Lima to get back on course, but he had lost his rhythm along with his lead. 2 runners caught and passed him before the finish. Vanderlei de Lima crossed in 3rd place in tears, but threw his arms out wide and smiled anyway, celebrating like he had won gold. Brazil appealed for the medal to be upgraded, but the appeal was denied. Instead, the Olympic Committee gave him the Pierre de Coubertin Medal for pure sportsmanship. 12 years later, at the Rio Olympics, it was Vanderlei de Lima who was given the honor of lighting the Olympic cauldron in front of the world. We are into the top 3 now, and number 3 still feels impossible every time it gets replayed. Number 3. Rome, 1960. Ethiopian runner Abebe Bikila had trained for this moment his whole life, but his running shoes fell apart just days before the marathon. A new pair he tried on gave him painful blisters almost right away. With no good options left, he made a decision that shocked everyone. He would run the entire Olympic marathon barefoot. The race started in the evening to avoid the worst heat, and by the finish, the sun had gone down completely. Italian soldiers lined parts of the course holding torches so the runners could see. Abebe Bikila ran barefoot through the streets of Rome, over cobblestones, past ancient landmarks, all the way to a finish line beneath the Arch of Constantine. He crossed first, setting a new world record in the process, and became the first black African athlete to ever win Olympic gold. Almost nobody outside Ethiopia had heard his name before that night. 4 years later in Tokyo, just 40 days after emergency surgery, when doctors were not even sure he should be allowed to compete, he ran the marathon anyway, this time wearing shoes, and won gold again, becoming the first person in Olympic history to win the marathon twice in a row. Number 2 is the story of an athlete who was never supposed to walk, let alone run faster than anyone else on Earth. Number 2, that same 1960 Olympics gave the world another impossible story. As a child, Wilma Rudolph battled polio, scarlet fever, and double pneumonia, all before she turned 5 years old. Doctors told her family she would likely never walk again. Her leg was locked in a metal brace for years, and she wore a special shoe just to give her foot enough support to move around the house. Her mother rode a bus 90 minutes each way just to get her treatment in Nashville, week after week, while her siblings took turns massaging her leg at home every single day. By her teenage years, Wilma Rudolph had not only learned to walk again, she had become one of the fastest people on the planet. She made her first Olympic team at just 16 years old, bringing home a bronze medal from the relay. 4 years later in Rome, she won gold in the 100 meters. 3 days after that, she won gold in the 200 meters. Then she anchored the American relay team to a third gold medal, becoming the first American woman ever to win 3 track and field golds at a single Olympics. She ran 9 races in 8 days and broke world records along the way. The girl doctors once said would never walk again left Rome as the fastest woman in the world, becoming one of the most beloved figures in the history of the Olympic Games. And now, number 1, the moment that turned a political stage into the exact opposite of what its host intended. Number 1. Berlin, 1936. Adolf Hitler was hosting the Olympics on German soil, using the games to convince the world that his Nazi party's ideas about racial superiority were true. He expected German athletes to dominate every event held in front of the cameras. Instead, an American sprinter and long jumper named Jesse Owens, the son of a sharecropper from Alabama, walked into that stadium and dismantled the entire plan. Jesse Owens won the 100 meters. He won the 200 meters. He won the long jump, beating a German favorite named Luz Long in front of Luz Long's own home crowd, with Luz Long himself giving Jesse Owens friendly advice on his run-up between rounds. Then he anchored the relay team to a world record and a 4th gold medal, becoming the first American in history to win 4 track and field golds at one Olympics. Adolf Hitler had personally greeted German medal winners on the very first day of competition. After Jesse Owens started winning, officials told Adolf Hitler he needed to greet every medalist or none at all. Adolf Hitler chose none at all and stopped attending ceremonies completely for the rest of the games. Jesse Owens came home a hero to millions, yet he still faced segregation across large parts of his own country. His 4 gold medals in Berlin remain one of the loudest athletic statements ever made on a global stage, and nobody matched that 4 gold mark for another 48 years. From a sprinter breaking records in gold shoes to a girl once told she would never walk again becoming the fastest woman alive, track and field has given us some of the most unbelievable moments in sports history. These are not just races. They are stories about courage, friendship, defiance, and refusing to give up, all happening in the span of a few minutes on a track. Some of these athletes chased history on purpose, training for years toward one single afternoon. Others had history land on them without warning. In the middle of a race, they thought they already understood. A few were stopped cold by something completely outside their control and found a way to turn it into the moment people remember most. Either way, every single one of these moments is still sitting on video somewhere, ready to be watched again and again by anyone who wants to see just how far the human body and the human spirit can actually go when everything is on the line. If you want to see more of the wildest, strangest, and most unforgettable moments from the world of sports, make sure you are subscribed, because these stories never get old.